Hi students, how are you all? I hope you all are enjoying your holidays, isn't it? We are learning many new things in these holidays, in these leaves, isn't it? So I hope you all are fit and fine, and you must be. Okay? Chalo fine. Now today we will start second chapter of political science. In this chapter we will try to understand one concept. So this chapter is not about so much information. This is about the concept, what exactly this concept means, and that concept is secularism. Okay, in your school, many times you must have spoken preamble of the Constitution, isn't it? While speaking that, those five golden words come in that: secular, democratic, sovereign, republic, socialist. Okay, so I might have missed the sequence, but these five golden words are there. So out of them, these five words, they are the nature of our society, of our constitution. So from from these five words, today we will talk about secularism. What exactly secularism means? Okay, so here you can see some pictures are given. Tiranga is there, tricolor flag, and some Muslims brother, they are sitting there, Sikh brothers, Muslim brothers. Then there are some symbols here around the world. These are the religions, different religions. Okay. So what exactly this secularism means, that I would like to tell you first. See, in every country, let's take the example of India. In India also, there are many religions, isn't it? It is said means it's a fact, that in India itself, there are five religions which originated from India. There are 10 major religions in the world. If you observe all the religions, then you will come to know. See, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Okay, then Confucianism and Zarathustra. Okay, and so these five religions. And five religions are from India itself, which Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism. Three, then Parsi. This is a new religion, and new means from it is it emitted from Yehudi religion only, Judaism. So in this way, there are many religions in the world. These 10 are major religions. So out of these 10 religions, 5 are originated from India, and fifth is Sikhism. Okay, so just imagine that in our India, if you speak that Hindu people, they are in majority, then what will happen? And if they are in majority, then the authority or the government must be possessed by Hindu people. We think so, isn't it? Because as we think that this is the country of Hindus, because why this is the country of Hindus? Because Hindus are in majority, but our constitution doesn't say so. Our constitution has something else to say upon this. Our constitution says that if Hindus are in majority and if they possess the authority, absolute power, then those religions which are in minority, they will not be given that much attention, or their fundamental rights may be confiscated. So this is the best question which comes from our constitution. But as Hindus are in majority, then this is also another side, that the power must be in their hands. So in this conflict, what can be the solution? So that solution, our constitutioners, they gave us by drafting the constitution and bringing some articles in that which solves this problem. And the solution to this problem is secularism. Secularism means there will not be any national religion. The people, those who are residing in the country, they are free to choose any religion. They can profess, propagate, or practice any religion. They are free to do that. But as a government, no religion will be a national religion of that country. Means, if you ask, what is the national religion of India? then nobody can say that Hinduism the national religion of India, isn't it? Okay, so this is the beauty of secularism. All religions are free to propagate, profess, and practice, but all these practices should not interrupt the fundamental rights, should not interrupt the government, the mechanism of government. So, somewhere in other countries, this secularism is practiced by other ways, and in India, we practiced it by other ways. So, in India, government is not completely away from religion. Sometimes government has to interfere in religion, but there are some countries where these two branches are completely different. Religions will not come across government, and government will not come across religion in any ways, in at any cost. But in India it's not like so. Somewhere government comes in between, and it tries to solve the problems which is coming because of religion. So what this chapter says in details, we will try to understand secularism in this lesson. So let's begin. Yeah, history provides us with many examples of discrimination, exclusion, and persecution on the grounds of religion. You might have read about how Jews were persecuted in in Germany. There was a rule of Nazism, means Nazi was a party of Hitler. So Hitler used to think that the Germans, those who are native to Germany, those are Germans, they are real Aryans, and they are fit society to survive in the world. And so he brought a notion, that is survival of the fittest. Those who are fit, only they have right to live. So keeping this in mind, he killed almost 60 lakh people. Out of them, the majority, means almost 80 to 90%, they were Jews. So he killed them. So this was a really very, what we can say, the act of giant, act of monster. So he persecuted many Jews. Germany, and how several millions were killed. In all of the above examples, members of the one religious community either persecute or discriminate against members of other religious communities. So in our India also, if you see, there was 4 varnas. In my earlier lectures I have told you, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudras. So there was one, they used to consider this. Definitely it was not the fact, but they used to think like that Brahmins are superior and all other societies, all other communities, they are inferior. So they would treat them by inferior ways. So from this, untouchability evolved, and because of this we had to face a lot, and that gave birth to such a visionary leader who is Baba Sahib Ambedkar, who thought about it, how a human being can be untouchable, how a human being can be separated from the society, how a human being can be refused his fundamental rights. So he thought about it, and by law he gave this authority to all the Indians. Okay, so religion or the communism brings all these things in our society. So these acts of discrimination take place more easily when one religion is given official recognition by the state at the expense of other religions. Before our constitution, that was the charter of our community, that Brahmins, they are superior, others they are inferior. Prior to in constitution, before the constitution drafted, that was the structure of our society, that Brahmins, they were having higher authority, and so they can treat others by inferior ways. So if this happens, this allows the specific community to underestimate other communities. So this is injustice. Clearly no one would wish to be discriminated against because of their religion, nor dominated by another religion. Who wants to get dominated by others? Nobody wants. And just because of religion, because I can't prefer, I can't choose my religion. Earlier, now we can choose any religion. We are free to go in any religion. But before our constitution, in which religion you are born, that will be your destiny. You can't change it. And just I am born in this specific community, how can I be untouchable? If I am a meritorious student and still I have merit, I have guts, I have talent, but still just because of on the basis of my community, I am underestimated always, or what we can say, I am always discriminated. So I will never like it, isn't it? So in India, can the state discriminate against citizens on the grounds of their religion? What do you think? Of course not. Now not. Okay. So what is secularism? United we stand. Can you see this picture? Here you can see all the persons, those who are standing here, they are from different religions. See, he is Hindu, as he looks Brahmin. He is Sikh. Then I think he is Parsi. Yes. Then I can't see him properly. Then he is Muslim. Then he is Christian. He is Buddhism. He is from Buddhism. Okay. So all they are coming from different religions. But if we stand together and if we live unitedly, then we can stand and we can change some positive change in the society. The Indian Constitution allows individuals the freedom to live by their religious beliefs and practices as they interpret this. In keeping with this idea of religious freedom for all, India also adopted a strategy of separating the power of religion and the power of the state. Secularism refers to this separation of religion from the state. See, means in short, what is secularism? Secularism means separation of religion from the state, from the government. See, in secularism, it doesn't mean that there is no religion. The people don't follow any religion. It's not like that. You are free to follow the religion. It's not like that you are living in secularism means you have to leave all the practices of your religion. Not at all. You can follow any religion, but it will be completely away from the state. Okay, that is secularism. Why is it important to separate religion from the state? It is a very genuine question. Why is it important? So let's see. The answer lies here. The most important aspect of secularism is its separation of religion from state power. Again and again this statement is coming. So please keep this in mind. Secular country, it doesn't mean that there is no religion in that country. Not at all. Secularism means in that country there is a separation of religion and state power. Means government will not take any decision on the basis of religion. All are equal in front of the law. Okay, so from which community or which religion you are coming, it doesn't matter. So this is important for a country to function democratically. If a state power it is influenced by a specific religion, then the people, those who are coming from that religion, they will be favored. They will be given more weightage and all the facilities it will be given to that society. Okay, so within these religious groups, there will be most likely to be one group that is in majority. If this majority religious group has access to state power, then what will happen? Then it could quite easily use this power and financial resources to discriminate against other and persecute persons of other religions. Means facilities, jobs and other financial resources, privileges or any other basic means, it will not be provided to other communities which are not in majority. And this is the first step, but in second step they will be discriminated, in third step they will be persecuted, and in fourth step there is a high possibility that there will be Nazism in that country again. Means the people will be killed because they don't belong to that specific community. So that is the last step. So to stop this, we have to separate religion from the state power. That's why separation is so much important. Okay, next, now see, as I told you earlier, country to country, secularism is practiced by different ways. In India, how secularism is practiced, that we'll see. The Indian constitution mandates that the Indian state be secular. According to the constitution, only a secular state can realize its objective to ensure the following. What are the objective of secularism in Indian aspect? One religious community does not dominate other. If you are from Islam, you can't dominate Sikhs. If you are from Hinduism, you can't dominate Christian. You are free to follow your religion, but you can't discriminate others. You can't dominate others. That is the first. Second, that some members do not dominate other members of the same religious community. Now in first, we talked about religions. One religion can't dominate other religion. In second, one community can't dominate to other community. Means we are talking here about caste. Then third, state does not enforce any particular religion nor take away the religious freedom of individuals. Means you can't force anyone to come or to go in that specific religion. Means conversion. You can't convert any Hindu from Hinduism to Islam, or you can't force anybody to come from Islam to Hinduism. It's his will. Or if somebody wants to go from one religion to other religion, you can't force him to stop. Willingly he can do. You can't take away the religious freedom of individuals. So this is the way of secularism in our India. So let's take one example of secularism in our India. This is government school, and this girl, she says to his teacher that there is a festival, big religious festival next month. So we have never celebrated it. So can we celebrate this year? She is talking to the teacher. So as this is a government high school, what does teacher say? He says that he can't do so, because this is a government school and all religions must be treated in same way, equal way. Then does it mean that no religion will be celebrated in that school? Means suppose many Hindu religions are there, festivals are there, many Christian festivals are there, many Islamic festivals are there. So none of them will be celebrated in the school. Actually, that's why some festivals are given which can be celebrated in the school, but other than that you can celebrate out of the school. In your community you can celebrate that, but not in your school. But this rule is not applicable for private schools. So he says so. So as they are disappointed by that, he says, I never thought of it this way. I guess we can always celebrate it outside school. Anyway, we were planning to celebrate it in our locality. So they can celebrate in our locality, because as it is a government school, they have to keep equality. Now second scene, here you can see in first, government is not intervenes in religion, and now in second, a group of friends, see, he is wearing helmet and he is not wearing helmet. So he says that you are not wearing helmet, so you will be get fined. So what does he say? He says, don't worry, I'll not be fined. Then he says, why? Hey Paramjit, why won't you be fined? Then he says, for Sikhs, wearing a ugri is a very important part of pagdi, part of our religion. The government cannot force me to wear a helmet. Now here, government intervenes in the religion, because as you know, for Sikhs, it is their religious right that they have to keep these 5 things with them, and the government has allowed them. Which are those 5 things? You have to tell me. One of them is pagdi. Okay, which are those 5 things which every Sikh should keep with him? That is their religious order. Okay, so if you see these 2 things, you will come to know that the celebration of religious festival within the school would have been a violation of the government's policy of treating all religions equally. Government schools cannot promote any one religion either in their morning prayers or through religious celebration, but this rule does not apply to private schools. In second example, Paramjit, Indian state recognizes that the wearing pagdi turban is a central to a Sikh's religious practice, and in order not to interfere with this, allows an exception in the law. So in the law we have given them exception. Now, as we are talking about Indian Constitution, there are some points. In order to end a social practice that it believes discriminates and excludes and that violates the fundamental rights of lower caste who are citizens of this country, government has to intervene, and that's why we abolished untouchability. Here government intervened. So Indian Constitution grants the right to religious communities to set up their own schools and colleges. It also gives them financial aid on a non-professional, non-referential basis. So if you want to teach the people about your religion, you can start your own school, which will be private, and there you can teach them. But in government school, no religion will be given same importance. Okay. Next, the Indian Constitution bans untouchability. In this instance, the state is intervening in religion. What we told, that secularism means separation of religion from the state. But in India, sometimes state intervenes in the religion to avoid this discrimination, to keep the social order intact. Nobody should be, means if fundamental rights are discriminated somewhere, are compromised somewhere, then government has to intervene. Just take example, right to equality. This is a fundamental right. Okay, and if you are following untouchability, then it is the violation of right to equality. So here government has to intervene, because government is the protector of fundamental rights, and if any religion tries to violate these fundamental rights, then government has to intervene. Okay. Next, now see how the secularism in India is different from other countries. In US, Constitution prohibits the legislature from making laws, means they are completely away from each other. Government can't intervene in religious matters, and religion can't intervene in government matters, nor can they give preference to one religion. In the USA, the separation between state and religion means that neither the state nor religion can interfere in the affairs of one another. So there is one significant way in which India's secularism different from the dominant understanding of secularism as practiced in the United States of America. So you might have understood the difference of secularism of India and secularism in US. Indian secularism intervenes sometimes in religion when fundamental right is about to be violated. But in US, they are completely aware. There is complete separation of state and religion. So this is the difference. So you can see, for abolishing untouchability, Indian government intervened, and they intervened in the religion, and they abolished untouchability. Okay. So here it is the event in France. In 2004, in February, France brought one law. What was the law? That any symbol or any sign which symbolizes the religion, they have to keep it away. For example, symbols such as Islamic headscarf, Jewish skull cap, or large Christian crosses. This law has encountered a lot of resistance, because earlier there were no labor in France. So what happened? In 1960s, France had faced a shortage of workers, and therefore what they did, they had provided visas for these immigrants to come and work in the country. Who were those immigrants? They were from Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco. They were given visas, and they brought in France. So when they came in France in 1960s, they were following their religious order. They were working in France as a labor. But in 2004, when France brought this, they got so much resistance. The daughters of these immigrants often wear headscarves while attending school. However, with the passing of this new law, either they have to leave their religious practices, means their scarf, or they have to leave the school. So because of this, France had to suffer a lot. Okay, so that's why where government has to intervene in religious matter, that must be the question of conscience, question of common sense. Okay, so in this way, this is all about this lesson. Coercion means to force someone to do something. Then freedom to interpret, you have freedom to decode the law of religion or the government, that is right. And intervene, to interfere. So this is the glossary. So as I told you earlier, this lesson is not about the information only. This lesson is about understanding the concept from Indian constitution, and that is secularism. So finally, the last statement about secularism is, secularism means separation of state power from religion. But if any fundamental right is violated by religion, then government has this authority to intervene. But in other ways, government will not intervene in religious matter, and religion also will not intervene in state or government matters. That is the meaning of secularism. Okay, I hope this is very clear to you. So fine, thank you so much, and have a nice day.